Hola, bonjour, and hello, everybody. You are listening to Worldwide Tea, the international drag race podcast where we take every single episode of all the international seasons and celebrate and deviate and dissect and have a year-end wrap-up of everything good that happened in our most beloved of non-US franchises. As always, I am your host, Evan Sawdey from Pop Matters.
And I'm Gregory Ellwood from the playlist, and you may be reading me every now and again in the LA Times.
And I'm so sorry. I completely forgot right out the gate. This was the Snatch Game episode. I forgot to put on my voice, so I'll be doing the rest of it like this. If that seems okay, Greg. I'm just gonna be doing this for my character.
I mean, that couldn't be annoying for 45 minutes to an hour, could it? Like, it couldn't
Not at
be.
all.
No, not at all.
Well, everybody, I'll be honest, first off, for all of you who've been listening to us on all the different formats, thank you so much because this has been a very surreal week because we've been doing four, five, three seasons at one time. And this is the first week in the longest time we've had one season. We have only Canada to talk about. And therefore, my sense of time, I think, is dilated because so much of my week is devoted to watching and rewatching these episodes. So this week, we're going to be doing something a little bit special. It is our last episode of 2024. So we will be recapping the currently airing Canada, but then we will also go ahead and dive into our thoughts. Because the most asked thing, apparently, of us and Greg especially, is our thoughts on the season 17 Girls of the US season that's about to premiere, along with, of course, our recap and our reactions to all of the international 2024 seasons, which is actually really fun. We've been putting together some real fun stuff. Please, if you get a chance, follow us on Worldwide Tea Podcast on Instagram because Greg has done some extraordinary jobs putting some fun clips and great stuff on there, and there will be something to celebrate our 2024 ones as well.
Fingers crossed that YouTube lets us upload all of them. So, fingers crossed.
Absolutely. And before we dive into anything else regarding any of these seasons or any of our recaps, we just want to briefly remind everyone who is listening that in this house of love, we believe that all drag is valid and no queen ever deserves online hate. And as American entertainment journalists, we may not get every cultural reference, and we appreciate corrections. And there are some truly great queens who simply aren't good at drag race, and we celebrate them all the same. Some of whom I had to look up for this episode because I had forgotten they were competed on this show. But we have a lot to get through. I'd say, Greg, since we have a nice little lineup of things put together on here, let's dive into Canada, our only show that's airing right now. Uh, it's kind of wild, low key, that this is still happening. But this was actually, I'll be honest. So far, I'm not sure where you're at with it, Greg, but I thought it was maybe a weak cast at the start. I'm really enjoying the season overall.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I think I definitely think it's a weak season. I have a conspiracy theory, and I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, although I think it's the second time now in 11 episodes where I may have brought up a conspiracy, so maybe I am. Um, they shot
Drag conspiracy therapist. That's very different.
Canada. They shot Canada and Canada versus the World 2 back to back. They actually shot Canada versus the World 2 second, and
Hmm.
then they aired it super quick, and then they held this much longer than they'd held any other Canada season. Now, granted, there's 20 million reasons why that could happen. It could be, I don't know if people are aware of this. Television streaming ratings go up when it's colder because people are home and they're stuck in home. And Crave may have wanted to see if they can juice the regular season ratings up a little bit. And then also this fall, as you and I are very well aware, there was a deluge of other seasons. Canada also does not want to, at the time, did not want to conflict with UK because they they had a deal with BBC and they were being on BBC instead of on Wow Presents in the UK. They are no longer. BBC just decided to keep Down Under, which is a choice. Um,
A
but
Stan
I
original.
but as this season has gone on, I feel like they realized this was the weaker one. They may have wanted to do whatever they could to try to finagle it and edit it as much as possible and figure out a way to make it more interesting. We don't who knows. I'm curious what they'll say at the end. I think it'll be a fine season when we're done, but I still feel like these queens are okay, but I feel like the last two seasons before the queens overall were deeper, that it was a deeper bench. And that's just the one thought that keeps returning to me.
it's weird. I feel like we've had this discussion before, and I think it's worth
Yeah.
bringing up again here. Is that with when it came to Canada season four, which by the way, I know you say they held on to it, but it's kind of airing in roughly the same time slot that it did last year. Like there was the bleed over from 2023 to 2024 when this airs, so it's
A
almost
little bit, but it's
on
still a
the
little later. It's still a
yeah.
little later. Yeah.
Yeah, a tiny bit, but kind of the same slot effectively.
Yeah.
But I remember when it came down to that top four of Canada 4, when it came down to Aurora Matrix and Venus and Near Enough, I remember it's just like I like these queens. I didn't have a deep love for any of them, but I liked them enough. It wasn't like I had a favorite that I had like a Kiana or a Zimbading or any of the other queens that we've had in some of the other seasons that we've seen this year. I still liked them enough. Here is the kind of thing where like I still don't know if I have an outright favorite. Like I still really love Michaela. Pearl is growing on me. Like there's still a lot of things going on, but this is the thing where Canada, if the queens aren't always bringing it, at least the format of the show is at least doing something to
Yeah.
kind of bring out that drama on there. So first off, before anything else, when the episode started and we saw the runways of all the judges on there, Tracy Melchor potentially looking the best she ever has.
Oh
She's
yeah.
absolutely been bringing the looks this season, and I'm a big fan of that too. Can she do workroom banter on the judging panel? No, but she can still look great if the occasion calls for it. Speaking of looks, in the workroom, Minnie Wang with this lacy slash top thing that was showing off their body, it was like, my goodness.
Listen, she's on TV. She's smart. She knows what she's doing.
That's exactly what she's doing, and I love her for it. I was also surprised too. Anne H walked into the workroom at one point. Nope, I'm sorry, I'm reading my notes wrong. That is Sparkly Brooklyn Heights walked in to give a mini challenge that, unfortunately, the trend that we saw this year of maybe a bad reading challenge and a good snatch game didn't really work out in the favor of Canada this week because we had
Oh,
bad iterations of both. Uh, Oh my goodness, it was the library reading challenge, and what a flop of a challenge it was.
thank God for Helena Poison. Like,
Oh,
thank
thank
God.
God.
But also I do, and by the way, Rue has often made comments when they're not doing a good reading challenge. Like Brooke basically asked, like, you knew you had, didn't she say like you knew you had to do this,
Yeah,
right?
you knew
Like,
this was going to be part of the
you knew this
season,
was gonna
right?
happen, which is basically her saying you knew who some of the queens were gonna be on this season. Like you could have written some of these before you got here. They don't know all of them, but they hear rumors. I just thought it was, but see, this is the problem with the cast to me. What
Mm,
are they good at? They're not comedy queens. They are really not runway queens. They're okay. There's been some good ones. Like this week was actually a pretty good week, but they're not really runway queens. Maybe a couple of them are they're performers, but they're not like you were asking about last season. I loved Aurora. I
yeah,
loved Aurora. I would love to see
wow,
Aurora on Global All Stars representing Canada. I think she's a freaking star.
absolutely.
Like Blue would blow you away. Near Enough could perform like the house down. Melinda can perform the house down.
Yes.
And I don't feel that with this cast. Like they
Mhm.
all feel a little second or third rate. And when we get to this end of this episode, a queen that like when the season started, you'd go, oh, that's the like lazy Susan of this season. That's the Kate Bush sort of flopped. Like,
Yeah,
and I sort of that's why this cast to me is like it's just
right.
it's not bringing it. But
Well,
anyway,
because you just mentioned that there was no comedy queen. I was just looking at who's remaining here. I'm like, kind of Uma, but I mean, this wasn't her episode for a lot of different reasons. But at this point, like honestly, it's kind of Minnie is really the remaining true blue comedy queen
but
out of everyone there, and she's not even a comedy queen.
she's
Yeah.
not a comedy queen. You know what she is? She's someone who knows how to be the straight man in a comic verse. Like she knows
Yes.
how to like give the one back. And it's all natural. It's but you know what it is? It's age. It's experience and age.
Hmm.
And, which is part of the issue with this cast, which we should get to. But
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
Snatch Game.
Yeah. Well, hey, fun fact, Helena wins the challenge. Brooklyn did say, thank you, Helena. Thank you for the jokes finally. Although I will say, Perla's read of Michaela, I hear you're a great designer, especially designing the coattails that you write on for ISIS. I thought that was one of the best reads on there. But yeah, just a bad challenge. But hey, it doesn't matter because before long we get into Snatch Game, and amazingly, there's not a lot of discussion. We just kind of jump right into it. Although I will say, I would have, of all the people they were talking about that they didn't do,
Yeah,
Michaela did mention potentially doing Tiffany Pollard, and instead she went with Oprah, which low key I thought was actually a good choice because
I
I think she
agree.
has the voice and she does have the look and the mannerisms. It just didn't connect. But man, I wanted to see Virgo's Drake so bad. I really, really did. I thought there was so much potential there, but instead she went with Judge Lynn Toller.
I mean, Kendrick Lamar would have loved to see her Drake too. Um, I, I, I think that would have been fun. I don't know if it would have been any better. I feel like Drake's really hard to do unless you're like a hardcore Drake fan, which
Right.
maybe he is.
Well, I think it's almost like Beyonce too, where it's the kind of thing like they, you know them who they are, but what is their personality? And either you're a queen that just relies on tropes, or you're someone who really adds something and just completely rewrites what the character is, which kind of
Yeah.
happened a little bit here. Let's actually just do the rundown real
Yeah.
quick. Xana was Betty Page, which, as noted, when you do the entire thing in this voice, it's certainly a choice. Like she did have some jokes in there. I wasn't especially taken with it, if I'm being fully honest.
I
Uh,
thought she, spoiler alert, I thought she barely won. Like barely.
yeah.
And I would, if Helena had won, and we'll get to who Helena, I would have been like, oh, okay. But also, that's the best they could do in the edit. Like, we just need to always remember that with Snatch Game. Like, they're not hiding things to not make, like when it's that bad or that flat, they're not hiding things to not make it funny. Like, they want you to laugh.
Yeah.
So it means it was that. Also, I think part of the, I mean, I gotta be honest, like, I don't know what happened this week, and, they do their budget with what they want to do. This was the week where you need, I think Snatch Games are always inherently better when they have guests who show up as at the Snatch Game and it not being Brad and Tracy because I think it spurs the queens to be a little more on their game. And
Mhm.
I think didn't even, and when we get to the runway, I think Blake or Brooke even says like you all gotta wake up, or she says it at some point, right? Am I wrong? Didn't she like some point like tell them?
I mean, she said it in especially regards to Snatch Game of just like
Yes.
she said that we were very disappointed. She just outright says that, which was striking. But also it wasn't too dissimilar to season 14 of US when they
Yep.
also had an edit where there was one winner of a Snatch Game and very clearly not pleased with everyone else's performance.
Exactly. And but we should wait. We should. I interrupted you. You should go on and do the rest of the
Yeah.
breakdown because it was interesting.
Yeah. Perla did Mary Kate Olsen. I'll be honest, my favorite of the entire panel.
Oh.
She was surreal. She made strong choices. And it was just like the thing is that it was surreal to the point where maybe she was losing the joke, but no, she found a way to bring it back around at the end. I thought it was genuinely the best of everything that was there.
I thought she and Helena, if they had a chance to go back and do it again in the same characters, would have knocked it out of the park. That they were
Absolutely.
nervous or that they just had a flub for like an hour.
Absolutely. Michaela, as we mentioned, did Tiffany Pollard. I'm sorry, no, she did Oprah. And not, it was so close. It was so almost close. She had the thing, she had the jokes. It just never, she was too closeted when it came to certain things about the gay rumors. She was too afraid to offend and ultimately just kind of kept stuff to herself. And that was where the failure of that performance was.
I actually took it as though she did not know as much about Oprah as she thought she did. That's
Yeah.
how she knew the voice. She knew that you get a car, which she didn't do. Like you get a car, you get it, whatever. Like I was like, oh, you were so close. But the voice and the mannerisms were there. It was just
Yeah.
jokes.
Yeah, that's the one thing she needed. For some reason, it reminds me of Kyra from season one of Canada's Drag Race when she did
Mm.
Mariah Carey. And aside from the fact when Brooklyn asked, like, how are the twins? And she's like, oh, they're doing great. I met your children. And then, of course, also had the great line of, I have a new album out. It's called Honey. It's Christmas time, baby. And which was read for, where it's just like a fundamental misunderstanding of what the character is. But like, I was just frustrated because it was so close. Less frustrating for me was Uma just totally bombing it as Dee Gruning, the Rainbow Sponge Lady.
This was a choice. I don't know anyone who was friends with Uma. This is Uma where you have to stop and like question the people in your life. Because here's the thing, when they all do the show, they tell about three or four people that they're on the show because they need help. You can't do it all by yourself.
Right.
And you in theory, you should bounce everything off them. And if I want to know what of your friends said, yes, this is what you should do, because I want to support my friends too, but not this. Like, come on. Like, that's just, oh,
It was rough, and it's
rough.
tough because it's truly Greg's favorite queen week over week. So I know that was really hard.
Weak. I mean, I wanted to like her. I mean, except for the God part, but like, whatever.
Oh, don't worry, you'll get to see it when she says goodbye later in the episode. She will say,
I
"God
will say
bless."
it did fade a little bit over the religious stuff sort of faded for a while, which was nice.
Yeah. Then we had low key Minnie as Chairman Mao. I really fucked with this one. I really thought like she had just some nice little ad libs. It was a
Mhm.
bold choice too. She had a book full of dicks in there, and at one point they're just talking about like, oh, it's like something about a pride flag, and then just leans over and goes, "Gay." And like these weird little into things where it's just like Minnie. I hate to like put her in a box, but like she really reminds me of Maggie Yellow from
Yeah.
España, because not just the fact that she's a pit crew person that went on to become a drag queen, but more the fact that just like there's someone who I'm like, oh, they're pretty, they're handsome, they have good enough runways. I'm sure they're going to be out 3 or 4, and instead they week over week actually surprise me with their comic ability, with some of their design aesthetics. Like it's just a weird parallel how like they have very similar arcs, and like I'm every week I'm just I when I'm about to counter out, she brings me back in, and it's been very surprising.
Yeah, I just think smart, like life experience. Also, I feel like has gone into the show thinking there's no way I'm going to win. So, or maybe, I mean, or thinks it's a long shot because they were a pit crew member. I don't think you go in thinking they're going to crown a pit crew member. Like if you do, you're delusional.
Mhm.
Like she doesn't seem delusional as a person at all. Like
Right.
very grounded and whatever. Oh, and I forgot last week. We forgot to tell the story. My friend was in a so there is an amateur drag competition called Miss Verve. I think I got it correct.
Yeah.
And my friend, who I mentioned last week, had been in a competition. I said we'll get to it later, and I never got to it. Minnie won that competition against my friend, and then my friend won it another time. But Minnie has actually been doing drag for a while. My friend has lived in LA for quite a long time. So Minnie was doing drag before she was ever a pit crew member, and then restarted or did it again. Maybe she was just doing it every once in a while before. But people should not think that this is a like, oh, I went on like Canada's Drag Race as a pit crew member, and then I decided to try drag. That's not Minnie's story. And I hope the show does, as it keeps going on, as the season goes on, they allow her to explain that because I am afraid too many people think like, oh, just a pit crew member who jumped on it. No,
Mhm.
that's not. She's always been doing drag.
Yeah, exactly. And it was I think that was same with Maggie Yellow as too. Like
Hmm.
she had history, but also was hot and could present male and was happy to do it. But still, yeah, great performance. Virgo as Judge Lynn Taller, nothing burger. Very disappointed. Zero jokes.
Like a great idea. Like
Yeah,
it's a good idea to do like one of these sort of judges. Brooke actually knew who it was. Brooke has a lot of time during the day, watch TV, I think. And I when she started for the second, I was like, oh wait, this might work. And then no, like just closed down, like not a comedy queen, not an actor. Like there's issues there. Yeah.
and in the confessional, she was just like, I just went totally blank. Like, I bet you've seen some crazy things in your courtroom. Yes. Okay, like, truly in the yes and iterum of improv, give us nothing. At least, and the worst part is that she didn't even try. And I think that was like the hardest part to watch because we know
Yeah.
she's talented and genuinely amusing.
Yeah, unsolicited advice for anyone listening who's ever on any drag race season ever. If this happens to you and you freeze, break character and just tell us funny, just do something funny and just don't freeze. Like,
Yeah.
even if you have to break character to answer the question, do it.
Yeah, yeah. And then you contrast that to Helena as Jennifer Tilly, who it was interesting. It was an interesting performance because it was much more naturalistic than some of the other ones that were on there. Because I think she like it was one of those things where I think she had so much knowledge of Jennifer Tilly's actual career, but how to translate that in a quick zip zip joke format was I think the more of the challenge. But she definitely had some lines, and she was willing to play with the rest of the queens.
I think one of the failures of the Snatch Game, and dear God, we're spending way too much time on this, is that she was ready to play with the other queens, and really only Zana and Minnie were as well, and it just didn't. I think when you go in hoping that will happen and you don't have enough banked like one-liners, I think she was trying to not be um uh predictable. I think she was
Right.
trying to be like sort of off the cuff and surprise, but I thought her thought she could have won. Like her impersonation was perfect to a T. Like
Hmm.
she's a
It
great
was definitely.
queen once again, and again easily won the reading challenge. Um, yeah, I I
Well, and the thing is that, like, I mean, there was a chance there, but what was even more surprising was that for what could have just been a disaster week, all right, this is when the format of the show comes into play. Because normally when it's in a Snatch Game and the winner is the audience at home, the Amish or whatever, but instead, in the moment, Brooke is like, and the winner is Xana. And all the queens are there and like, what the fuck? And even Xana's like, oh wow, this is really strange. And she gets handed the wooden beaver, and they don't tell her what that is. Go to the next day. They're talking about it. Xana is do not give Xana a win because my God, it goes to her head really quickly. But then again, her and Uma will just always be at odds about everything. It was yeah.
you know what I have to say is every time Xana does something on the show where I'm like, Jesus, what are you saying? Like, can you just not say that? I remember that she helped raise $5,000 for
Vagina.
Sanjina to, is that right? Sanjina, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, to get her breast surgery. So there is a good person in Xana. We're just not
We
always seeing
just
it on
don't
this.
see it in the edit all the time. But also, like, some of the stuff she says, I mean, it's that kind of thing where she's a TV villain, she knows it, but
Yeah.
she's not overly malicious, she's just pompous. And the moment when she has the downfall and gets, slapped in the face, if that does happen, would be lovely to see. But that's the kind of thing where I still think there's enough people that are supporting her, but then her narrative also completely changed when it comes to this fucking runway that we have, which is Alien Superstar. Great idea. Actually, a pretty good runway
That was
overall.
pretty good runway, yeah.
Yeah. First off, we have Uma. She comes in. This one, I could see people not liking it, and the judges definitely didn't like it. I didn't mind her wild, lumpy green look that had these kind of like weird, almost like bee-like things coming off it with the black and white on there. It gave Alien. Maybe not drag, but it absolutely gave Alien.
Oh, I thought they wanted to send her home. Like
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no, I liked it. I thought they wanted to make sure she was going to be in the bottom anyway, and I think
Yeah.
they were just like making a case, like in case she killed it in the lip sync. Like and maybe that was subconscious on their part, but like I liked it. I thought it was creative. I actually thought it was one of her best looks of the season, and it maybe some of the makeup was a little frumpy with the mask, but I thought it was drag, and they've liked
Yeah.
other things that were way less drag than this. This would have been
Absolutely.
on Spain. They would have been like over, like they would have loved it.
Absolutely. Minnie comes out as this kind of this sexy chin strap alien. It's
Yeah.
actually this lovely design that she has of just this giant, like oval shaped, almost xenomorph thing, but it's golden. She called it Aliana Grande. I'm not sure really where that comes into play, but I thought it was a good look.
I thought it was very, very good, and she called it out. She's like, "Yep, it's another cat suit," and I give her credit for, again. She hasn't. She's not stressed.
Yeah.
Like she's like, as far as I go, I go. I'm having a good time. Like I've won a challenge. Like you can just tell, like none of this is bothering her. Like the only thing that bothers her when she talks in confessionals is the other queens being crazy. So it. So it was like, yeah, Minnie's great. Minnie's safe. Hi, she'll be great. She'll be here next week. It's all good.
Yeah. No worries.
No,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh yeah, Michaela, it almost works for her. Basically it's not fully the Fifth Element opera queen, but it is kind of in that same realm. It is definitely the same hues and colors, but it is kind of a bit of a miss of a look. It's just kind of I don't really have a focal point for it really. It's not bad. It's just not great.
I like the headpiece
Yeah,
and the chest. I did not like the undergarment bodysuit. Like it was not good with the rest of it, and that was my problem. It
yeah.
looked cheap. That part looked cheap.
Yeah, just like with her Oprah, like it was an almost week for her, but unfortunately, an almost runway and an almost performance just don't correlate into a successful week, unfortunately. Then we have Virgo with this red and green vinyl hooker look that she has. And she's wearing the ghost heels. Unfortunately, she can't always stand in the ghost heels, which is very apparent at multiple points, especially during the judging, where she's just kind of flibbing, flabbing around on there. I liked it. For someone who's been giving pretty great runways this season, I thought it was okay.
I love the outfit, didn't love the headpiece. The headpiece didn't really work with the outfit for me, but I love the outfit. Also, the outfit wasn't very alien. I just thought it was sort of slick and fun, which is
Yeah.
also very her aesthetic. Like we're seeing her, she does a bit of real girl aesthetic
Hmm.
like in her drag. It's not always super draggy. Her makeup and hair is super draggy, but her outfits are leaning more towards woman, which is good. I'm fine with
Yeah,
it.
exactly. It's a
Also,
drag show.
woman
Yeah.
going to the club, like to clarify.
Hmm.
Not Ginger Johnson going to the supermarket, whatever.
Absolutely. Now, when we get to Xana's, this is one of those things where we kind of run into this category of drag that is so expensive it's impressive, but is it actually effective? I think explicitly about when we had Canada versus the World Season 2, Fierce Delicious had the robot runway, which was so technically impressive, but it was the kind of thing where it's like, okay, is it truly amazing or is it just really expensive looking? Like, does it fit the aesthetic? And here, Xana is the kind of thing where I think this was, for the most part, insanely expensive, but just a knockout. It was a giant pink, glittery exoskeleton, a xenomorph from Alien movies with a whole spiked tail and everything on there. It just completely consumed her body. It was just dynamic. It's one of those things where after winning the Snatch Game, it's like you could have thrown a shit runway and it wouldn't have mattered. No, you throw in one of your best, truly. Like one of the most impressive things that she's done so far this season.
Okay. Yes, once again, great headpiece. And I think she's
God.
making them herself. And it's what she's really good at is the headpiece stuff. And the exoskeleton, she made that with friends or had someone make this for her. Great, really good. The bodysuit is from Amazon. You can get that bodysuit in 5 different designs. I bought 2 of them. I tried them for Halloween. I did not have enough body. They did not look good on me. But you can literally go on Amazon right now and buy that bodysuit. It looks like it's sparkling because of the lights on the runway. But it is 100% a $30 bodysuit off of Amazon. And bless. But my
Oh,
point, but like the problem is the judge, I mean, the judges gave her the episode, it didn't matter. But like any of her peers are watching this and going, why didn't you just wear regular black? Like, why wear something that someone's gonna clock? And I just
hmm.
feel like sometimes you don't think enough. Like, anyway.
Well, I think honestly, it reminds me of in Canada versus the World when Lemon had the that one disco catsuit runway, which was just a pure Amazon purchase as well. And it's the tough thing too. It's like, man, I can find this on Amazon, but also it's like, yeah, but she wore it first,
Here's
like
the
that.
thing.
That's the part you run into sometimes. No one else has worn it, and so anyone else can get it, absolutely. But it works in the moment.
You know what? In these tough times where drag queens can't find gigs, which that's a whole other podcast because that's not true.
And
Um,
Selena Titties is on that podcast, yeah.
she is on that podcast. I'm not against someone going to H&M or Uniqlo or somewhere or like White Box Boutique and like getting something that like another queen that is cheap and works with what they're going to do and dragging it up. The
Hmm.
problem is when you go and get something that anyone has seen, that people have seen, that millions of, not millions, maybe tens of thousands of viewers have maybe seen scrolling through Amazon or going to H&M or going, sorry, to not H&M, but like um
Tarjay.
Target or something. Like that's the problem. And we're not saying queens need to spend $50,000 on a package. We're just saying you can be smarter about it. Like, come on.
Yeah. And speaking of smarter, Perla went against the grain a little bit with her look. It was basically she almost like human, like she didn't really do much moderations to her face, but the skin tone was different. She had
Yeah.
this patched, this wonderfully patched, different designs, kind of like a skirt thing on, and then this elaborate Anna Locking-esque wig of just these giant loops circled into each other. It was one of the things where it's like it was maybe the least alien out of everything that we'd seen so far, but oh, it was a serve. I was a fan of it.
I liked it. It was I did not get if no one had told me it was an alien runaway, I never would have thought.
1000%. Absolutely.
Uh, I love the hair, and congratulations for watching Drag Race España, Perla. Like, I'm glad you did it. No, it
Your
was it
little
was it was very good.
son right here, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Then of course we finally have Helena. She is in this purple horned titty alien outfit here with definitely some spikes on the tit ends there, a little bit of rubber all around. But oh my God, the mug. The mug was
Good.
next level good. Like we've seen Helena do some good makeup work before, but this was when it came to actually applying on more a sci-fi aesthetic. Just the details of kind of these dripping black holes that were on her cheeks and everything, just absolutely immaculate. Like truly, I'm not sure if the look was my favorite, but the mug just blew everyone else out of the water, in my opinion.
I mean, the Dragula makeup, like she's so Dragula coated, and I love it. But like she's better. She's probably better here because she can actually compete in drag issues with Dragula is like a whole other podcast. But I loved it. I think the issue was the first top of the dress was great. The bottom was a little boring. It was like a little flat. Like she didn't maybe need it. It didn't maybe didn't need to be a gown, but like the top was great. If you were just do a portrait photo of her, you'd be like, whoa, like
Yes.
super great.
Absolutely. So they get out there on the runway. Everyone gets critiques except for Xana, who already won. And then the trick of the wooden beaver is revealed. In it, basically, there is going to be a bottom three who is lip syncing, and Xana will save one queen and give that queen the beaver. And then that queen will save another queen, and that queen will save another queen. So effectively, there was going to be Xana wins. There'll be three saves and then three bottoms on here. Now, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I loved this twist so much. This is better than any,
It's chocolate.
it's chocolate or Queen token from España, or what they're going to do this season on season 17 with, if they pull the lever and Michelle falls into the water and you're saved. I what I love about it is it puts the power in the queens. It creates inherent drama. It
Mhm.
makes if they were to do it on a regular basis, it would make teams and if you want to work together like on Survivor and on Big Brother, like it would make that more inherent to the show. I would love for the US All-Stars to do this. I would
Oh,
love for an international All-Stars to do this. I think the judges would love it because y'all do what you're gonna do,
uh-huh.
and all they have to do is pick a winner. And I would really love it. It is literally the antithesis of everything people experienced on the last US All-Star season. And
100%.
I would love it to keep going and forward in some
Absolutely.
way.
And I think the part of it too is that we get to the workroom and every queen gets to plead their case. They all make great arguments, I think, out the day, including Uma, who's like, if you want to hear some fire from me, ask me my opinions on drag. Who is fired up and angry and ready to go. A little almost touching on the line of Melinda Virgo just a little bit in terms of queens, which by the way, the preview for the next episode, someone looks like maybe someone quits the competition. Who knows? We'll see.
We'll
But
see.
it is the kind of thing where they then do the order of what it goes to, and ultimately it goes from Xana saving Perla, who then saves Helena, who then saves Minnie. And it's the kind of thing where, unfortunately, the only problem with this twist is that that is exactly the order I was expecting the tops and bottoms to be in. Because when you had the bottoms of Uma, Michaela, and Virgo, I was hoping there'd be maybe a little something to spice things up or toss some wrench in the machinery, but they kind of went along, I think, how the judges, for the most part, would have probably gone.
And listen, I think if this is put into any franchise's All-Star season, that would happen 80% of the time. What
Yes.
the drama is the order that it goes. So
Mhm.
in theory, you would have said, no, Minnie needs to be saved first because Minnie was the best out of or maybe Helena needs to. But instead, she went with Perla because she was paying Perla back. And
Yes.
that's the drama. And that's what I liked. And I give Xana credit, even though she was great in the workroom, she was being drama because she did the right thing and she paid back the queen who had golden beavered her. And that is what I loved about it. But I think in theory you're always going to get, or maybe 7 out of 10 times you're going to get the bottom three or bottom two you need to get.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, she didn't do an Alexis Michelle and promise to save someone and doesn't. Which
Yeah.
can happen and maybe affect your the perception in the public in the future. But either way, we get a bottom three. It's Uma, Michaela, and Virgo. They're doing "Hello" by Martin Solveig and Dragonette. Big amped up techno song on there. I like a three-way lip sync. I thought it was a decent three-way lip sync of the ones that we've had in the franchise of the show.
And
Uh,
isn't it great to have a stage that's big enough where you can just let them all do it on one stage?
I know.
We're
So
looking at
all
you
these
down
originally
under.
Canada, I mean down under. Yeah,
Come
like
on,
come on.
down under.
Let's be real. So overall, Michaela and Virgo get the save, and Uma gets the chop. That makes sense to me. I
Yeah.
wasn't too mad. Anyway, God bless everybody. Uma leaves. Yeah.
I did want to say for the lip sync before we skip over it. I actually thought Uma was really good.
I did too,
I thought it
honestly.
was a
Yeah.
super close lip sync. I think Virgo almost lost it. I thought Virgo wasn't giving anything, like until she basically did a split at the end.
Uh-huh. Into
Ayla
good.
was, but
Yeah.
Virgo was like, I don't want to say she was ready to go home or anything like that, but it made me question her for a second, like in the lip sync. But if they had wanted to save Uma and send either Michaela or Virgo home, they could have 100% edited that in a believable way that she was safe and whatever. But she'd already been in the bottom. She was going to go home. She sort of flopped this season. It's like, bye-bye.
I know. It's truly, again, it comes down to the thing of, is this queen going to give us really anything else for the rest
Yeah.
of the season, or have we seen? I think we've seen the extent of Uma's capabilities over there. So, not surprised. I'm sure she'll have a great time, being going to DragCon and other things like that in the future. But, yeah, we are now down to a top six at this point, which is kind of wild. It feels like it's just flying by.
And the golden beaver's now gone. No
Oh,
more.
poor Golden Beaver. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm sort of bummed because we have at least three more episodes,
Yeah.
and I would have hoped they would have kept it till at least one more ep. Like, I'm sort of surprised, but
Yeah.
they want control now, and
Maybe something else will happen along the way. I don't know.
I
Which, by
have
the
no
way,
tea. I have no tea. I mean, I know the top two, but I don't know how we get there, so we'll find out.
the challenge for next week also is designing an outfit that Brooklyn has to wear. That I think that's a cool idea.
Does she actually? I'm really curious how they frame this. Like, not something she actually can wear, but like the idea is the design. Like,
I I wonder
like
if she will wear it. I wonder if that's what's going to happen. Which will be interesting if so. Who knows?
oh, that would be so she keeps changing outfits walking down the runway. That would be fun if they can pull that off in an edit and make it not seem like monotonous. Like that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But
So
anyway, Canada keeps going, guys, and it's the only international one we have till March,
DVD.
April, for a while.
Yeah. So we'll see. Well, will we go into hibernation? Will we just recap our favorites? Who knows what will happen? But hey, we will experiment with stuff that we do that
Yeah.
isn't season coverage, like today when we cover a couple things, including a quick recap of our wonderful girls of the US season 17. We are an international podcast, and I guess the US is part of the world, so I guess we do have reason to cover it if you want to get real technical about it.
Well, listen, we're part of the world till what is it? January 20th or 23rd? I don't know what the date is. I've been not paying attention. But I do want to say something for our tens of listeners is that listen, people complain about Drag Race, they complain about Queens, they complain about last season. We are about to enter a period where, and it sounds cliche, we will need this more than ever. You will be surprised how much you need it. And I would also say, remember for this at least upcoming US season and actually the All Stars, all shot, well, actually most of All Stars, but we'll get to that in a second, before the election and a different time. It will definitely at times feel like a different time.
Mhm.
And but also a time that really isn't gone, like it's what we fight for. And so part of me is even though I am very concerned about this season, I was also really concerned about last season too, and there was still fun and joy in that season. So I'm hoping that like as season 17 goes forward that we can find fun and joy in it and just don't give up if it's maybe not what you would have hoped for.
100%. Yeah. And again, I think the one thing is that the audiences are for the most part forgiving because even though it's now to the point where the seasons I think are overstuffed with a lot of queens and maybe potentially overlong sometimes, I think that every season an experiment. They're never going to do the same season twice, and that is always kind of the joy of it. Yes, the immunity potion from last season kind of shot itself in the foot, but for the most part, it was still like a good overall experience. I was pretty happy with a lot of the queens that we got out of it. It was a good thing. Morphine loved Dion for the win, and something else in the future. Who knows? We'll see.
We'll see. Let's. I'm going to take the wheel with this
Oh,
one.
please.
as we go forward, for just to talk really quickly about these queens. And one quick heads up, everyone should know that they have not shot the finale of season 17 yet. That doesn't mean they won't do it in a studio with friends and family like they did for 16, which may have cost them the Emmy. But I mean, I don't know. It's hard to lose. It was Traders was on a upswing. Like, it was so hard to lose to Traders. And to be honest, Traders is about to go to, for anyone who cares, to 2 seasons a year, and that will kill it in Emmys. Like, you can't go that much. It will. So let's, if anyone cares about reality competition Emmy wins, it'll be very interesting going forward. But season,
And before we get into actually the Queens of 17,
yeah.
just quick, Greg, you were on set, right?
Yes, I have been on this new set. I have been on this stage. Um, I don't love the new stage. I love that they made what they did to the new stage, which you'll see on the first episode, which airs on Friday, is they have integrated more video panels into the behind them, which allows them to do a lot more. This stage, to be very clear, is not the stage. It looks similar to it. It is not the stage they used for the season 16 finale. They
Okay.
tore that down and they rebuilt this one. This one is slightly bigger. It has even more lights in it. It's more impressive in many ways. It has these lights in it though that makes it look a little 1930s. Like, these, you'll see like in the design, it's a little Art Deco and it makes me cringe. But they're trying to freshen stuff up and do things differently, and I'm all for Drag Race evolving. But let's
Absolutely.
our first queen, which will, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. So did you get to meet any of the queens when you were
No, when I was there, I interviewed Nymphia Wind.
on set,
So
or did you just tour the
it
set?
was it was an interview with Nymphia.
Oh, perfect. Lovely.
Yes. And she was wonderful and great, and also taller than you'd think in person. Um,
I
and
believe it.
also it was an interview with everyone's favorite Global All Stars permanent judge. And I'm forgetting his name. He is
Paul
the
Sims.
no, 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 permanent judge. Oh yeah, Jamal Sims.
Yeah,
Yes. Who's just nice and wonderful and just the nicest guy.
I fully believe it. So, well, hey, we didn't get to meet them. Let's talk about them. Take us away,
Yes.
Greg.
All right. So up first, somehow from Los Angeles, California, is Alicia Forgot.
Hmm.
And she is 28 and she is a country-esque queen. And in her Meet the Queens, she's a little combative, given a little drama. The only thing I'll say about Alicia, and her Insta gives it away, is she has been living in LA for about 2 years or maybe a year and a half before she got on the show. She had only done maybe one West Hollywood, LA real gig, like that she had been booked anywhere. If you look on her, you'll notice, if you look on her Insta and her gigs, she was then booked on Showgirls, which is a LA staple, and she had a Mickey's gig after she got back from the show because all the queens found out about her. But
Mm,
most people, when they saw that she'd been cast in the LA drag scene, were, who? And
yeah.
I'm curious, what was your reaction, Evan?
Well, first off, you just called her Alicia, and I think that's going to happen a lot because the
Oh,
actual first name of Acacia is hard to say. Like it's one of those things where it's like that's not a woman's name. That's just Acacia. Cool. Like that's kind of like a mandatory meeting where it's like, oh, the Amanda part's good, but meeting, I don't know. Like there's kind of that, weird tongue twisty part of it. What a bland fucking personality, is the sense that I got of it. A little bit combative, yes, but like, man, she just had nothing to give. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna be the feisty one. I'm like, okay, well, can you tell your voice that? Like, it just I did not get a strong out the gate impression from her. But as I've learned from Meet the Queens over the years, sometimes what you see in there isn't necessarily going to always translate into what you see in the show. I got bland, was my reaction.
my take is I hope her country branding helps her get gigs across the country. This
Yes.
is really hard to do in LA. Like, this is not something that will play here. It's going to be really hard for you to. There is by the way, there in is Los Angeles, a weekly gay honky tonk dance night in Silver Lake that people go to. But even those gays will be like, I don't know. Can you sing Charlie? So
Yeah,
it's a little bit of that. But we'll see what happens with her. I'm sure she'll get booked for WeHo Pride somewhere. Uh,
absolutely.
so up next, Queen, I found quite interesting is Arietti from Seattle. She is 28. She is also from the house of Irene the Alien Dubois. That
And
is her
Cisco.
drag mother. And
Yeah.
they have what I liked just about her is she seems very smart. And her personality might not be loud, but she's super creative
Hmm.
and polished. And that's what I liked when I from her Meet the Queens.
She's a big alternative anime girl. My reaction was, God, I mean, I always love my weird alternative girls. And I love this seems exactly like my exact type, a weird queen who's gonna go home after 3 episodes. And it's the thing where it's like I'm excited for her. I want to see what she does. But will her creativity be enough to push her across the actual competitive finish line on there? We'll see. But I had a very positive impression.
And by the way, this is one of the current running issues with the US Drag Race is they keep casting queens in buckets.
Mhm.
This is she's in the official Paramount bio of her, a futuristic elf. Not really sure how that's different from Dawn, but or how that's different from Crystal Method, who wasn't really an elf, but it's all a little bit of that, and that's okay. I'm sure Ariadne can do her own thing, but again, we're as we keep talking about these queens, they might seem somewhat familiar.
Hmm.
Up next, though, is Crystal Envy. She's from Ashbury Park, New Jersey. She's 27. To make it clear, Ashbury Park is near is southern south of Newark. It is sort of a trek to actually get from Ashbury to Manhattan. So it is a little bit of a different scene. Super polished. She's a big pageant queen. And I thought she was fine. I thought she was interesting. She also is very similar aesthetically and sort of in background to another queen in the competition we'll get to at the end, which I thought was weird. But what did you think of Crystal?
Uh, for her twill dress that she had in the promo look did nothing for me. The fact that she's Crystal Envy and somehow not Scarlet Envy's daughter is one of those wild things that I'm just gonna have to accept. Like, oh, that's just what the name is. I thought her a lot like Acacia. Her speaking tone, her voice was kind of dry, but also my biggest thing was you're a makeup artist by day, and that's your mug. I thought it was okay. I'm curious to see what happens, but there again when you have a cast of what is this 14 queens on here.
Yeah.
It was definitely like we'll see what she can bring. I just didn't have the immediate like this is going to be my favorite going into it out the gate.
I wanted to double check something really quickly,
Mhm.
but I am pretty sure that her outfit for the Meet the Queens is by an international designer.
Ooh.
I think it is by Gasparo. Uh,
Oh.
so she does have taste. Um, I am seeing here if she tagged them. No, it's by Rorschach Design from Italy,
Hmm.
who, by the way, to tell you that seasons are coming all around the world, he has a very big on his Instagram with red X's in all caps, commission closed till February 2025. So I think he might be working about 4 or 5 different seasons that are about to shoot in like a week. No
That's
joke.
incredible.
We are not kidding.
Good
Um,
luck for them. Yes, love
but
that.
she has taste and money, and I thought the look would be great on a. I don't know if it was great sitting down. I thought it was a good look. To go back to your makeup comment, she's a very manly face, and I think she's doing the best she can with the face, which is not to say she couldn't do more, but it is sometimes it is what it is until you get surgery.
Listen, we send nothing but love here, but also our
Yes.
opinions are unfiltered and unvarnished. You're getting the real authentic thing here.
Yes. Up next, from Chattanooga, Tennessee, is Hormona Lisa. She's a trans queen. She is 30, and she met Rue at a book
Book
signing
signing.
party. And
Yes.
Rue sort of close to immediately cast her there, I think. Like that's the rumor. It's sort of unclear. She seems super nice, and she seems adorable, and she seems like she's going home sooner than like you can imagine.
It's see, here's the thing where it's like I this one stood out to me so strongly because she was unafraid to be herself. I feel like sometimes in some of these things, like a lot of them are just kind of like doing like the, oh my god, I'm here. Why am I going to be America's Next Drag Superstar? Because no one's had a queen like me. Like we've heard all these things before. In fact, one of the queens later on, Corey King, is just like, how often have we heard this shit? Come up with something new. And the thing is about Hormona, she was so unapologetically herself that I'm just like, she might have a chance because we haven't seen this exact kind of corn-fed country bumpkin on there. But she also is like, I'm really smart too. I have like 3 degrees. It's like, oh, okay. Like she knows who she is and is really confident about it. How that will be in a competitive environment, I don't know. But I was immediately out the gate. I'm like, she might be at least my favorite, at least on first gas. But she might go home early, very on. But I do think she is so strong in who she is and knows who she is, unlike some of these other queens that I'm like, I have my eye on you a little bit. I'm excited.
I'm not sure how creative her drag is or
Yeah,
how super, super polished it is, but I'll say this. When I first saw her, I thought she was a bio queen. Like I had to stop and go, wait, is she trans? Is this
yeah,
like what? I'm super impressed. Like she looks incredible. Like from a feminine perspective, like props to her. Like she looks great.
yeah.
Um, Up next is Jewel Sparkles from Tampa, Florida. She is 23. She is young, and I believe Trinity the Tuck will literally track us down and kill us if we say this. But I think she's the granddaughter of Trinity the Tuck.
That's what
She,
I believe. Yes.
she is. I forgot the other. Who's her mother? It's something Sparkles. I think she does a podcast with Trinity. I'm
Yeah.
forgetting who it is, but she's another Florida queen. Um, I liked Jules. I love that she is Puerto Rican and Cuban, and I thought she was interesting. She does feel a little bit of the Georges sort of look that Rue tends to love. But she does have good heritage, and you know that Trinity and her drag mom are going to make sure she shows up with good looks, good wigs, and not embarrass them. That will be their number one thing. You are not going to embarrass us.
Yeah. I thought it was very telling that she said her first episode was the season 10 reunion,
Oh,
which is a wild start. I mean, for season 10 was the first season I watched all the way through, to be fully fair.
whoa.
And that, which is wild. And then I went back and watched everything. But it was just like, what a fascinating journey to go on. It's the kind of thing where she, again, as a young queen, she might be in a good house. I am curious to see how much of her own aesthetic she
Yeah.
has, but I'm curious at the very least.
I mean, I think in her makeup didn't actually remind me of that house,
That's
but
fair. Yeah.
her outfits, you could see the influence a little bit, at least so far.
Yeah. She's described
Um,
herself as an IG queen, and I think that that absolutely shows. Yeah.
yeah, but to be honest, Tampa actually is a very strong drag scene. There are a number of bars that have more than one show a week. Like she's working, she's not just at home. I'm surprised she's calling herself an IG queen, but we'll see. Also, the Tampa Orlando like corridor, like a lot of queens go back and forth there.
Yeah.
Um, Next up is Joella. And I like.
LA staple. Absolutely.
Are you being sarcastic? So I will say, I have either been on a run or walked down Santa Monica Boulevard. Full disclosure, I live in West Hollywood. I literally live like a 5 minute walk to Mickey's and to Rocco's and to that whole thing. Like, bless my safe West Hollywood and rent stabilization neighborhood city. Um, I have seen her do like a drag brunch. I've seen her out at night, like at Mickey's doing gigs. She was getting gigs. She's not one of the first 10 WeHo LA queens I would have said you should be on Drag Race next. And I'm going to guess that many of her peers feel the same way. She's a little bit of a baby queen. She's been doing it for a couple years. Um, and I just rewatched her interview and I was like, okay, you got on here because of your personality. You got on here because you're gonna stir things up a little bit and you're very she's super confident and
Yeah.
I think that she's gonna oh, this is it. She when you call your drag classic drag with a modern twist, girl,
Like,
like
and I'm sorry, it's the kind of thing where like she was like, "Oh, when a girl comes for me, I'm gonna come right back" or whatever. Like Nothing that she said was even remotely new, and I think that was my biggest problem was the fact that it's just like for someone who, I mean, I've seen her name around in LA before, certainly, but it is the thing where I just didn't get anything unique out of her. She could be strong and confident about what she's doing, but also there's that little bit of terror where it's like there is what is truly there. Like I feel like she could lean into her heritage, she could lean into her comedy wit, like she could do a lot of other things, and at least in the interview portion we saw none of that. And if I'm also being fully honest on here, of all the looks that we had with this rather excellent promo
Yeah,
look that we
very
had,
good.
I thought it was the least impressive out of all of them, which
Oh, totally agree.
yeah, which is the kind of thing where it's like it doesn't necessarily set things up on there. If she is the drama, if she is going to do a plain Jane Rada Queen Tom fuckery kind of thing, that certainly might add some things on there. But she didn't seem like the kind of person that would last at the very least halfway through the competition, if that, at least in my opinion.
Also, I want to know what I hope she's a great performer. Her bio says she won a local West Hollywood drag bar contest. Melissa B. Fierce used to run one. There used to be one at Beaches. Maybe she won the one at Beaches. I hope she's great. I hope she surprises as a performer. I have not heard that though.
Mhm.
So, and also she's never, I don't know if she's ever been booked. Maybe she has been booked on, I think she did one Fat Slut. Maybe she's better than we think. We'll be surprised. Anyway, this is another year though where the LA and New York queens are, they clearly don't want an LA New York winner, which is a-okay, totally fine.
Yep.
Listen, there's no Chicago queen on here. Chicago's ready to go to World of Wonder offices and burn that building down. But it is what it is. But let's go on. There's also Corey King from Randolph, Massachusetts. She's 24. So it's so great to have Monet Exchange back on Drag Race again. No, I'm just kidding. She is a St. Lucia queen, and she brings it up many times. This is now
Many times.
she's now the third St. Lucia queen or fourth. I think there was one on Canada. So we have Relisa, we have Monet, we have Corey, and I swear to God, I think there was
Oh,
one.
we definitely had more than that. I am almost positive
But
with that.
this tiny little island bringing out these gay queens, like, and I don't think it's cool to be. I don't know how legal it is to be gay in St. Lucia. Maybe that's why they have to escape.
Yeah.
Um, but she has a big personality, and she won Boston's Best New Performer to Watch award, which, listen, that's no small feat. And she is in theory Plain Jane's drag sister. So listen, if you can survive hanging out with Plain every week and keep your mental faculties, she's probably put up with a lot.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm really curious to see how she does. I'm hoping she's good, and if not, she can host the pit stop sometime.
I thought she had one of the best interviews out of everyone here. She was confident. She has seen the show. She knows about the show. And unlike playing Jane, who is truly, and like all queens are egotistical in their own degree, and all the queens
Yeah.
think about themselves, but she was self-conscious in a way that I thought was refreshing. She was, she saw through the meta narratives on there. She was like, I am going to stand out. I am going to be different. I'm just like, and also like, I just love the blue eyeliner that she had on. I thought it was just the perfect shade for her. She knows how to paint for herself. I was very excited by her. The fact that she is related to Plain Jane at all is wild to me because I just got a completely different vibe off of her. Maybe that'll change in the course of the show, but I was really a big fan. It was definitely my favorite interview, pretty much hands down.
I liked her. I didn't love the wig on her head. I loved the outfit, although it wasn't that. I thought it wasn't the top five of all the outfits for these girls. But I did like her very much. And also what I was struck with was I thought she was older than she was till I saw her age. She's
Right.
only 24 and she acts like she's 30. Not in a bad way, but she has a maturity to her that and a confidence that I really liked. I was impressed.
Also, her line, "Everybody in Boston is shaped like a wisdom tooth." That's gonna stick with me. That was incredible.
I actually love that. Next up is Lana Del Rey. Did I say that right? Lana Del Rey.
You did, which is the problem,
Oh,
because she was like, I was gonna be lingerie. I'm like, well,
oh, that's what it is. It's lingerie. Oh, yeah, but you
except
say
it's
Lana.
Lana Jarre, so it's
Yeah.
already that's why she gets a lot of people like a lot of people say it's Lana Del Rey, which I'm like, work. I'm like, well, yeah, you added the na in there. That's gonna happen.
And listen, do you want to feel old? Her drag mother is Lux from our London. And I think Lux is 24. Lana is 22. Lux has given a story saying about how she was performing, I think, at Playhouse in New York City. Great place to see drag. Actually, Jax used to perform at Playhouse a lot. She came in and did a show and saw her there and basically like, no, you're my drag daughter. Like I'm claiming you. This was like a couple years ago. Lana is already a fan favorite. She is the most liked promo on Insta. Her Insta followers are jumping. She is giving Naomi Smalls. She's giving Lux. She's giving a little bit of Taste. And she is known as a performer who will slay the house, boots down, blah blah blah. So I will say I am at least excited for her to see her perform on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm very curious to see what she has because I also feel like her interview, she was a little bit kept it a little bit close to the chest a little bit. I
Yes.
kind of wanted to see even more of her personality on there. So we'll see, but I did think she had a lovely look. Yeah, I'm curious.
I'm super curious. Next up from Nashville, Kentucky is also a fan favorite so far, and also one of the, I think she is the oldest queen on the cast, but you'd never know it. Actually, how old do you think Lexi Love is?
God, I if I were to guess, I would say 28.
She's 34. She might be 35 by the
Wow.
time they shot the promos.
Wow.
She has a lot of life experience. She has a great story. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but she talks a little bit about it. She's fought homelessness and drug addiction. She hit rock bottom and built herself back up. And about 3 years ago, she transitioned, and she is stunning. Her look is, and I'm so impressed they let her do it, because it means someone else has to show up to do it all. Her look for the promo is just painted on her. It's
Yeah.
all painted silver. And it is incredible and it pops. And listen, when you're doing all these gigs, you want to be in something that, like, when they cut it and they put it on a promo, that it looks good, and she'll look good for the next 5 or 6 years in that promo.
Yeah.
I liked her. She has a great personality. And I am super curious about her story. And she is very well, she is the one quote unquote local legend in a reach on this season. And or actually maybe that's not true. She's one of two. And I'm glad that that's on the show because we need more of that, and I'll talk about that down the road. But what did you think of Lexi Love?
Man, I thought her look was one of the most impressive. Husband was really upset by of all the silver on there. There was that one part on her face that there was almost like this
Oh yeah.
streak or this patch here that was throughout the interview, which was like we weren't sure if that could be removed or if that was intentional. They thought it was a bit of a sloppy move overall, but overall, I liked her a lot. Her voice immediately, because I mean, part of it, we've been watching so much Canada's Drag Race too. I'm like, why does she sound Canadian? But then I realized that she also said that she has Cherokee Indian heritage. So there
Mm,
is a little bit more of a tribal affectation on there, and I thought that was incredible. Her whole vibe gave me Carrie Colby, interestingly, both with the wig, with the aesthetic
yes.
a little bit. And I like Carrie Colby a lot. She obviously was not going to be a top tier competitor for everything that she still had to learn about, the drag scene and also the format of the show. But I'm very intrigued by her. It's the thing where she has a confidence that it feels truly earned, and I want to see how much that plays out in it because she seems to be, and again, some queens like Joella or other people that we've already talked about are ready to compete on the show, to compete against other queens. And Lexi seems like she's there for herself.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how that plays out. Maybe she'll be conflicts that she gets dragged into that she doesn't want to be, but she definitely seems like yeah, not necessarily in a Sasha Colby way, but there is kind of this like all of this is below me thing where it's like she has her story, she has her life, she'll show up and do what she does, but she's truly there for herself to prove her story. So I'm excited to see what she brings.
There's a lot of tea about who the villain is of this season, and it is not her. I'm not going to say who it is, but it is definitely not her. And I'm rooting for her because I think her story is inspirational, and I'm very curious. And also, I would say the one difference between her and Carrie Colby is, and Carrie's super nice and
Yeah.
absolutely stunning in person. And also, Slaycation is now available on Tuesday, on New Year's Eve, or no, New Year's Day,
Yeah.
on Wow Presents and Crave, which I will be binging because I don't want to watch fucking Squid Game 2 anymore because it sucks. Like, I'm never gonna finish that, and that's my job. But I'm very curious. I'm really excited about her. One other queen that I am excited about, but we'll see, is Lucky Stars from Miami, Florida, another Cuban backgrounded queen.
Mhm.
Uh, Her look is incredible. She has a connection to Nina Bonina Brown. I don't think it's a drag sister. I don't think it's a drag mom. I've been told they did a podcast at times together, or she was a guest on the podcast, and that they were friends. Or it's sort of unclear. I feel like that may have been stretched a little bit more than it is. But I love the creativity, at least in what we've seen. And if you go to her Insta and look at what she's done, she's a super creative queen. And then also, just know, look at this look and remember that for a majority of the year, it is 95 degrees and humid and like this is a queen you would think was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, not in Miami, Florida. Like this to her, for her doing these looks is so impressive in that weather.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the kind of thing where when you're talking about queens filling certain slots on here, this is the one downside to her throughout this thing is like, here's the concept queen slot. Truly, that's the kind of sense that I got because she is giving something that none of the other girls are giving in terms of these promo looks. And she is a concept queen. She admits to being a concept queen, which is awesome. And it's like, oh, I'm so excited to see what that means because you are probably going to have one of the more interesting runway packages, hands down. But it's that thing where I wanted a little bit more personality to come out of here, but maybe her personality is translated into the looks that we see.
Hmm.
So that's the kind of thing where we'll see how it plays out, but I'm definitely intrigued. Uh Out the gate doesn't strike me as necessarily a winner going into there, but as always with some of these things, I would love to be surprised.
I would love to be surprised.
Yeah.
Speaking of a queen who will surprise, is up next from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And in fact, I think it's our I don't know if there's been a Pittsburgh queen since well, I guess Alaska was considered Pittsburgh, but she was really LA by then. She was on season 5.
Yeah.
But one of two queens who shall not be named anymore, despite winning. So it's been a long time since we've had a Pittsburgh queen.
Mhm.
Um, and that's Lydia B. Collins. And she says that she's inspired by, Tim Burton, John Waters, David Lynch. And I love that. Don't get that from the promo, which I
Nope.
like her promo look. Don't get that from anything in the interview, but I find that interesting, and I hope that that's also a surprise. Also, the official Paramount bio emphasizes her booty and her ass, and
Mhm.
we haven't really seen it in the promo, so I'm assuming that she is a little bit of a for as a recent example, a morphine Love
Love Dion.
Dion,
Yeah.
where she'll be showing a lot of ass, and she's super skinny, so maybe it really pops on stage. Um, she's interesting, and she's also just 23.
I fully believe that. I really, when I on my notes, I wrote down kind of a Crystal Versace-esque sci-fi look is the way I would kind of describe it. And if you were talking about it, I feel like everything that is talked about her or everything she talks about is more interesting than what we're seeing. She talks about like, I make puppets, I make tons of puppets. I'm like, cool, that sounds amazing. I would wish I could see at least even a little bit that so far, and maybe that will come up in the runway package.
Yeah.
But like that and the talking about the booty and the ass and everything, which I don't get at all from the promo look or the vibe. It's like man, these all sound like interesting elements together. I wish I could see that. And so that's like the thing where maybe it's just she didn't know how to do the interview properly, or maybe there was just not the opportunity to show off what she's fully able to do. But I just wanted a little bit more. There's the elements are there. I just need to see them in play.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But she's interesting, and I'm curious to see how far she goes. Up next, is the other queen who's sort of I don't know if you can be a local legend at 31, but she's known to be super popular in the Cleveland area, and that's Anya Nerve.
Mhm.
Also rewatched her interview and smart, like gives like really great references that you don't expect to hear from a drag queen,
Yeah.
usually, or at least one on Drag Race, unless it's Cheddar Gorgeous or Sasha Velour.
Right. Right.
And I was super impressed with them. But she is I don't know if she still works at Smashburger, but she was before she went on the show, she worked as a cook at Smashburger by day and was doing drag at night. But she has a BFA in painting from Cleveland Institute of Art. But she's also a comedic actress. She is talented. She gives me randomly Vivacious's younger daughter,
I thought I wrote down the exact same thing. Just the way she paints. I don't know what it was about it. It really gave me that vibe. Yeah.
but she has a different personality.
100%.
but she seems fun, and I'm super curious about her and how she does in the show. I think she could be a fan favorite.
Yeah, this was my husband. This was their favorite queen out of the entire interview set, hands
Ah,
down. And it's the kind of thing where like there's just something about her vibe, her essence that's just so inviting. It's like it's motherly but exciting. Like it is again, much like some of the other queens that we've had. Definitely has the I've been around the block more than a few times. I know what I'm doing kind of thing, and just like it has this exuberance about her. There was a kinetic energy that was there that wasn't present in all the interviews. Sorry, Acacia forgot, but I'm super curious about her. I have a feeling she's going to be a contender. I'm not going to throw down my bets as of yet. I know
yeah.
the spoilers are probably already out there, but this definitely strikes me as maybe someone who is at least going to be top six if I were to wager a guess.
And they do purposely put in there that she's a comedic actress in the official bio, which makes me think she must do well in the comedy challenges.
Hmm.
Which, bless, you want there to be queens who are, as we've just talked about with Canada, we want there to be queens who are actually funny. So,
Hmm.
dear God, hopefully, let's have some funny snatch games or comedy challenges this season. Up next, she is stunning, stylish, and southern. It is Sam Starr from Leeds, Alabama. You know, she looks amazing. She is a pageant queen. She's a retired gymnast and cheerleader. I'm assuming she did cheer in high school and maybe college. She can do handsprings. She's super polished. And she has won supposedly a number of pageant titles as a young queen and is very proud of that. And you know what? You should be. Like, don't want to diminish that at all. She is giving me a little too confident for the room. And I am hoping that that is just, for show and television, and there's something, below there. But it is also, she's another queen that has a connection to Trinity the Tuck, who,
Is legitimately the drag daughter, right? Yeah.
well, Trinity has a lot of drag daughters. So, but she's claiming her as her drag mother and mentor. And again, I am hoping I don't think her looks will ever embarrass Trinity, but I'm hoping her behavior does not uh embarrass Trinity. But we'll see. We'll 100% see. And also, as a boy, she's gonna be super popular. She's cute as a fucking button, like sort of hot.
Absolutely. It's weird because the bubble look, I wanted to like her bubble look more than I ultimately did. I can't explain what it was about it that was holding me back from really loving it. But the fact that she's Trinity's daughter, but she's a self-professed giant fan of Alyssa Edwards, that kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Very pageanty, very good, competitive. Still, just I get the vibe of Baby Queen. Like I know she's probably has a little bit more experience in that, absolutely, but just definitely it's so strange how some of the queens like Corey King is young but feels like she has an otherworldly confidence about her that comes from lived experience on here, and Sam Starr is like has a confidence that comes from being young. And I'm curious to see how that plays out. We'll see. But yeah, it was I wish the bubble look gave me more, but overall we'll see how it shakes out.
Sam screams future All-Star Queen to me, but
Ah, yes, 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 yes.
she also I believe she's been doing drag since high school. I think like young, like 16 or 15. I could be totally wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's one of them that's been doing it since they were like 16. And I think that's her. So that's 8 years. So she has in theory been doing drag a long time, but I agree with you. The life experience thing is a little like taking me back a little bit.
Yeah.
But we'll see how she does. She screams future All-Star Queen to me.
Yes.
And but I actually I thought she just looked super polished, and I'm not against super polished queens.
Hmm.
Next, last but not least, it's Marsha. No, wait, it's Plasma. No, 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 it's Susie Toot. Susie Toot from Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. But no, wait, Susie actually lives in New York. She's actually lived in New York for since the beginning of this year, but we're not going to talk about that. So Susie is representing Fort Lauderdale, as well as the Miami area, as well as Lucky Stars. In her drag, she is a professional tap dancer. I don't know how anyone is a professional tap dancer in 2024, 25, but that's what the bio says. And if you couldn't figure it out, her drag is deeply rooted in 1920s and 1930s fashions. She has a very specific mug, which I'm sure Michelle will never say, give us something different.
Nope,
Not
not once.
not once. Um, and but she is the effective bucket of a theater queen, theater kid who is loves to do drag and wants to get on the Broadway stage or do a cabaret or be the next Jinx Monsoon, which is also the Broadway stage. Um, I'm not against Susie. If you go and look at some performances, she's super talented. She might actually be more talented than Plasma or Marsha. And the only reason I'm bringing them up is we are literally 3 seasons in a row with this same type of queen cast. But listen, Marsha's on fucking Broadway and cabaret
Right.
and has literally like her career is fine. Like she's doing drag on this literally on the side when she's bored. Like she's Ariana Grande's like BFF. Like she is so good. I'm not making that up. It's true.
Right.
And Plasma's doing a-okay. Also,
Mhm.
I did hear from someone they are all repped by the same theatrical agent, which is wild to me. Like, can you imagine the
Finding that
competitiveness being
niche
like,
of the drag queen Emmett BFA performers who are suddenly able to transition onto Broadway work. Incredible. Awesome.
wait, we're not talking about their gig manager. We're talking about the agent that's trying to get them work on Broadway. So imagine you're like, oh, but you know what, my agent, there's no one else like me in their stable because I'm not like every other like chorus boy or girl like living in Chelsea or the upper west side or whatever. No, there is. You have two other ones you're competing against.
Amazing.
Blows
Stunning.
my mind. What did you think of Susie? Sorry for
I
the rant.
I thought she looked scared as hell. It's the kind, I just something in the interview where it's just like she was talking about these things and like you could just kind of see behind her eyes. It's like I'm not fully saying this is season 10 Blair St. Clair, but it is the kind of thing where I was just getting a sense of like I'm not sure if she's ready for prime time as of yet. I love that she's a cabaret queen. I love that she loves Halloween music. I love these different aspects about her, but there's just something where I'm like, she just doesn't seem like, especially when you compare it to some of the other interviews, I'm not sure if she has necessarily. It's not even a matter of having the fight to be there because you don't need to fight other people. You don't need to be competitive in that way to be there. I'm just not sure if she has that full well of self confidence, at least from the sense that I got from watching the interview.
Well, the only other thing I'll say from the bio, the official Paramount bio, is that she's described as a cross section between Betty Boop and Lucille Ball. And listen, you know who knows who Betty Boop and Lucille Ball is? RuPaul Charles. And I that is going to get you at least 10 episodes in.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna get far just being like knowing who El DeBarge is. Like that'll help. That
Yeah.
I think that will help. But I think she's interesting. I didn't get the fear. I guess my fear is that her personality may not be as interesting as her talent
Yes.
for reality TV. And
Yeah.
that was my like. So you one thing to say about Plasma, and you can say about Marsha is they were great talking heads.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure Susie will be, but maybe we're wrong. Maybe it was just sometimes Meet the Queens, by the way, is completely off.
100 million%. That's the other thing about this too, is that like I've seen other Meet the Queens before. I'm like, ooh, I like you, and then it's like, oh, they're out first. Like it's not an indicator of where things are going to go because also the person in Meet the Queens isn't always the same person we meet in the workroom either. So, because once the edits are in play, once you have a bunch of other things, once they're used to the format and speaking about these things, it changes a bit. So overall, it's good. If I were to pick just some of my favorites out the gate,
Yeah,
overall, I would say it was for me Anya Nerve. It was Corey King, a little bit of Lexi Love in there, but also Hormonal Lisa. Those were the ones that immediately stood out. And like, I have a feeling these are probably going to be my favorites if I were to wager a guess.
I liked Lexi. I'm curious about Lana. I want to like Corey, but the wig sort of like threw me
Fair,
off.
fair.
Um, I am very curious about Arietti, but I don't know how far she'll go. But I'm hoping that there'll be surprises because the rest of them aren't really blowing me away.
Yeah,
But I was wrong last year too. I didn't think that I would like some of the queens on. I didn't think Megami would win me over. I didn't think that
100%.
I've seen Morphine's sister perform many times and she's still a much better performer. So I didn't think Morphine could like blow me away. And I thought Morphine did great on the season. So
She was one of my favorites by the end. She's completely kind of upended whatever narrative I thought was going to be about her, truly.
let me tell you, if you think Morphine, get you some Juicy Love Dion because I'm telling you, she was just on So You
So
Think You Can Dance,
yeah,
and she is
destroyed, and then wasn't heard from again after her one
um,
episode.
I didn't watch, but I heard that yeah. I she is a star.
Mhm.
Like someday if she, I heard she doesn't really care about getting on the show, but like if you're ever in Florida and you can go down and look her up on Instagram, and you're in Miami and you want to see an amazing drag show, go to that brunch. She will blow you away.
Yeah.
You just all you have to do is look at her followers and look at all the celebs who follow her who've like seen her from performing.
Yeah.
Okay, but now let's put the US away. Let's maybe we'll revisit. Maybe if there's some international reference on the show, maybe if the Javis stop by, they're not. But if something like that happened, you never know. Maybe we'll revisit. But we did this for our fans. We did it for you. But now we're at the end of the year, Evan. I feel like we should just quickly go back and look at some of these franchises because it's been a great year for international drag.
It really has.
And before we start, because I have questions on what I think forever will be the forgotten Drag Race season 2 of Drag Race Belgique. Evan, it hasn't even been a year since it premiered. Hasn't even been a year. There were at least 8 episodes, and it has gone into the ether. So I have a question for you, Evan. Who is Leo?
Oh, this is the one, I'll be fully honest here. This is the one I have the least memory of out of everything that happened. So that's why I knew Greg had something planned for me on this one here. I do not recall, I will admit to my heart.
Leo is the permanent female guest judge on Drag Race Belgique. And you know what? I didn't remember her either. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't even know she was there. But she was in every episode, sat right next to Rita Baga, and gave commentary.
She was truly the Shaw Diary of Tootsies of
Yes.
the season.
So since you don't remember much, tell me really quickly, what are your memories of Drag Race Belgique? And then I'll run down mine.
Oh God, let's see here. Well, I do remember. I mean, it was I think around episode 3 after she won the first challenge when it was like Alvida. You just knew she was going to win the entire goddamn thing. I
Wait,
do remember.
did you remember? Wait, really quickly. Do you remember who Alvida is now before you look this up? If someone were to have asked you who won Drag Race Belgique season 2, would you have given them a name?
I probably would not have. I just remember the big thing about Belgique season 1 was, of course, the fact that we had a queen that was the first AFAB queen to actually win an entire season. But overall, if you told me that, by the way, there's a drag queen named Lulu Velvet, I probably would have been like, who? Like, it's truly been that far of a memory for me as well. I actually, before you said this, I did have to look it up to be like, okay, who was the first out on the season? I could not remember Sarah Logan for the life of me. So that's how far back this is when I'm looking at it.
I don't think the first season of Belgique had a AbFab winner.
Oh.
You're thinking of Germany.
Oh God damn it! You're right. I'm so
No,
sorry. Yeah.
Drag Queen, Couenne won in a
Yes.
controversial win over Athena, who
Hmm.
probably should have won. But anyway, no one cares except for people in Belgium for this. Um, but go ahead. So I don't want to interrupt you if you have any other thoughts that you remembered.
The only other thing that I was trying to think of too was I think it was the very last episode when they had the lip sync for the crown bracket. I thought that was pretty fun because I do remember very specifically there was the physical lip sync from it was Alvida and I think it was Gabbana that they were fighting
Yes.
against down there. I thought that was pretty good. I don't remember too much of the rest of it, but I thought that was a fun final bracket that they had. Yeah, that was for the most part all that I really truly remember. Out of course, obviously, at the very end, having Drag Queen and also Jimbo show up in the last episode too, which I was very surprised by.
Oh my God, I forgot Jimbo showed up.
Right? Yes.
I forgot they flew Jimbo over, who was clearly had a gig in the UK, and flew Jimbo over. I forgot about this.
Yeah.
This is what I remember about Drag Race Belgique, and I do want to preface this, having now gone through the season, and I just went back and watched a couple clips. Compared to many of the other seasons, Drag Race Belgique's production is fantastic. Like beautifully shot, beautifully lit. They spent money on lip sync songs. There's an
Mhm.
Ava Max song. There's "Rain on Me" by like Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande. Like there's like really good lip sync songs. It's just a really small country.
Well, it's a really
And
small country, but also to the fair, and there was the problem I had with the first season of Belgique too, was the fact that unfortunately, I got to be honest, Rita Baga as a host doesn't have that same connection with the
Yeah.
queens in the same way. And I think that's just Rita Baga's personality. She's always been guarded in a sense. Like you only kind of got to see a little bit more of what she truly was in like Canada versus the World season 1 when she kind of let her guard down a little bit. But like she's just very presentational. And even as much as we criticize Drag Race Thailand season 3, even Pangina still at times could break down and be real
Yeah.
with the queens. I've been in this competition. I've been on either side of it. I can give you advice. Which Rita Baga, I was never able to break through that barrier with her in either of the seasons. That was the
Yeah.
toughest part for me.
Rita is very the Lolita Banana of Drag Race Belgique. But I will say this, I did think she was better this season than the first season. I thought she was
Yes.
more comfortable.
Hmm.
These are my quick thoughts about Drag Race Belgique, besides the fact that I would welcome a second season.
Third.
They can find more queens. And I don't know if they can. In theory, it feels like they're threatening to do a third season. But I here's the number one thing, and this is how you knew no one was just like no one was watching Drag Race Thailand, which we'll get to, that no one was watching Drag Race Belgique is that every single week, Musti's eye makeup was just horrifying on a gay level. Like every week he clearly was doing it himself, and it was just got worse and worse and worse. And like where he was putting the sparkles and where he was doing his, it was just did not know what was happening.
And
I
he's
didn't,
a handsome man too. That's the
yeah.
worst part.
No, and by the way, I love this. Like, I'll do this to go out to a club. But whoever was like, no one was helping him clearly, and it didn't look good. And I just kept waiting for the memes of like someone to put them all together, like, and no one did because no one was watching. And I do, by the way, I don't mean to rag on Musti. I feel bad for him. He was a favorite to make the final shows of Eurovision this year,
Mhm.
and he didn't. It was one of the shocks for Eurovision because his song was really good, and it was probably just because there were too many LGBTQ competitors on Eurovision, which, by the way, amazing. I also remember, I didn't remember Elvita won, did not remember her name, the most forgettable winner. I also remember Gabbana, who was sort of
Mhm.
cute out of drag, but also a little bit of an a-hole, like for a lot of the season, like super confident and sort of a jerk. Also very butch, like sort of like a one of the more butch, like out of drag, like
Men. Yeah.
yeah, queens we've had in a while. Um, I didn't want Lvov to win at all, and I remember watching like why Lvov was the bearded queen who makes Pinche look like Sasha Velour. Um, Lvov
Yeah.
is also the Angelita of this season. Lvov is an actor who does drag on the side, doesn't do it that often. I remember at the beginning of the season, the queens were like, "Oh, I'm surprised you're here," because
Uh-huh.
they didn't do drag that often, but then made it to the end, basically directed the best episode of the show where they did the most cinematic like acting challenge you've ever seen on any drag race. It was like I remember messaging a friend saying, I think I'm watching HBO. Like it's so well
Yeah, they
done.
put in the goddamn effort. Like
Yeah,
almost like the music video at the end of season 1 of Holland, where it was like in widescreen and they had the black bars, and it was just like, oh
yeah.
my god, they're actually putting in some effort. Yeah.
And then I do remember that Chloe Clark had really good runways. I will say this: the queens on that season overall, for the most part, the runways were they weren't France or España or even Sweden or Italia. Not definitely not Italia, but they were very good,
Yeah.
like very good runways. And she had that amazing saxophone outfit that went down her leg.
Right. Yes.
So there was spark. There's things in it where you're like, this should be good. I do think it's a season that is not get so there's clearly an audience who want like us who are outside of Europe or belt or these countries who watch all the international seasons, and it's just missing one little thing to get people to watch. And it's interesting because even when season one aired, and we were spending way too much time on this, they it was at the same time as Sweden, and Sweden had more heat because the queens were just a little bit better and they were more
Also, they fucked with the format a lot on Sweden too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's Belgique. I don't know if we're gonna get another season, but it is in my opinion, season two, because season one had, what's his name from Grinder? Susan from Grinder. You can never forget that. And by the way, Athena did more being on Global All Stars for
Mhm.
her fellow drag race queens than she or Drag Race Belgique queens than she wants to admit. Um, and at this point, you just see Drag Race Belgique alumni in the live audience in France for the
Yeah.
live finale. Like that's sort of what it is.
Yeah. And it's one I need to revisit as well. There's, again, like, for the most part, I'm caught up on everything international. That's still, I need to give a revisit on it, dude, because it's been so long that I need to remember some of it. But that's like one I just want to catch up on there. At some point, I also need to do a fucking Italy rewatch too, because it's been forever since we've had those seasons. So, and
I
I know
might
that's
really,
Greg's all-time favorite. Yeah.
yeah. I actually think since Italy is going to do, since there's rumors that they're coming for season 4 and All Stars. It's probably just season 4. I will 100% rewatch. But let's move on to the next one. And if you want to take the wheel, UK versus the World season 2. What did you think of this, Evan?
I thought it was one of the best casts that they had ever assembled, truth be told. And the thing is that, like, when I think about it, and we're going to hit these as quick as we can because we
Yeah,
know we have a tendency to go long, and that's okay. But overall, I'm so happy the world got to meet Le Grand Dame. I'm so happy the world got to meet Marina Summers. Truly, some of the most outright breakout stars on there. But Le Grand Dame's runway package is next level. I will say one of my surprising favorite things that happened in the season was the field trip that Gothy Kendall got to go on for it too, fucking her way up almost through every challenge, and it was delightful to see when she was doing the musical and just missing her fucking cues. It was like so charming in its own way. I can't describe it. And as much as I will say that, of course, there was the controversy over the top four and how Marina Summer should have won and all this other stuff on there. Credit is where credit's due. Tia Coffey gave one of the best roast performances ever, and also I thought that her runway, that was a tribute to Cherry Valentine,
great.
was spectacular. The whole point of All Stars is that you want to see queens that you love actually improve themselves, and Tia may have had the largest jump of any queen from a regular season to an All Stars that we may have ever seen. If I'm really thinking about it, like she really brought the heat in a way that was not expecting. I would actually say maybe the only one I could possibly think of was Raja O'Hara, who came out of season 11 in the US with a nasty edit and 1000% rewrote her entire narrative, which was hard to do, and goddamn, she did it. Yeah.
So my things, I loved UK versus the World season 2.
Yeah. People
I
hate
had
on it for the ending, man. It's like, don't let that detract from the rest of what happened. Yeah.
I love that my friends were watching it that were like just casual Drag Race fans. I love that I'm a huge Le Grand Dame fan. I'm really sad she's not really doing drag anymore. She's now concentrating on her male music career. I think it's a huge mistake. We'll see what happens. Marina is a fucking star.
Mhm.
You go back, and also it has one of my now all-time favorite Drag Race lip syncs of all time. Like it is up there with Tatiana and Alyssa
Anisha.
Edwards, and with what's the other one that I love Valentina versus Monet for Valentina's Redemption. Like that's I every time I hear that song by Ariana, I always think of that.
Mhm.
But into you. Marina doing one of my all-time favorite songs, Release Me by Agnes, which is an amazing song. And she is a star. She's just a star.
She
Still,
has an exhibit now going on in Philippines. Greg sent me this link of like
yeah.
actual her drag on display in a museum.
I don't know how they're I don't know where she'll be next. They know she has to be somewhere next.
Right.
Um but I'm a huge fan. But I'll be honest. I'm happy Tia won. I'm happy there's finally a African descent winner in the UK. That was really embarrassing for them to get this far.
Mhm.
But I Le Grand Dame and Marina won their lip syncs. Like I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Um, but BBC gonna BBC, and
Mhm.
that's fine. They clearly do it more than any of the other partners, and that's their incentive. Also, this season was so great. Not only did we get Gothy Kendall, who has now officially quit drag, but you can find her on OnlyFans. Um, and
Frisbee
you can
chicken.
find, by the way, you can wink, wink, find a lot of her on OnlyFans. Uh, but can we talk about a glow up, Arancha from
Yeah.
Drag Race España? I think
Season one.
season one.
Yeah.
Uh,
One of the first in. Yeah.
just a joy. Like
Yeah.
I would have loved if she made it to top 5. Like just a beam of light, like wonderful on the series and great runways. Like
Yeah.
she was really good.
And also on TikTok, she definitely has found a kindred spirit in the other competitor that we had in the season as well.
Theresa
Uh,
May.
yeah, and they've been having a lot of fun together. Just like they have so many collaborative things, it's been really exciting to see. It's just joyful.
Yeah, Teresa, they have a podcast together.
Yeah,
Or
oh, makes
oh yeah,
sense.
and Teresa has been doing a lot more gigs in Spain because she realizes she can make money there, which is
Mhm.
real. By the way, Teresa, go for it.
Go for it. Love her. Absolutely.
Uh, but do you have any other thoughts on season two before we continue our tour around the world?
No,
No. Next up, he's like, I gotta go, Greg.
no,
Um,
I've
up next is probably my number one season of the year, which will be a controversial statement, and that is Drag Race France season three. First of all, I love Philippe. I actually randomly met her performing at Cannes the week the season started. She did not give me any tea. She did not let me know that she was in the final, but she was just cool and sophisticated and um just like I was rooting for her the whole time. The other thing about the season was Ruby has one of the best comeback arcs on any season with Ruby on
ever,
the nail.
ever.
And what is bizarre, the season is so good, we have now completely forgot about the Leona Winter racism controversy. Leone,
Mhm.
also everyone thought Leona was winning from the beginning. Uh,
And I was pleasantly surprised to see she did not. She already won the Switch, so
yeah.
she's got enough. And she had Queen of the Universe, so she was set.
And this cast is so good. There was really only one boot filler queen, and that was the first queen who went home, Aphrodite.
Mm.
Even Magneta, I think
Magnetica.
Magnetica, she was even super strong. She showed great runways like on her Insta like afterwards. I love this. I just loved this season. Like I've inject France into my bones. Nikki is hands down the best host. Maybe Mama Pao is in her own way. They're on different wavelengths. But Nikki is the one where like, do you need someone to step in for Rue? Because Nikki just send Nikki to do it.
Right. She absolutely destroyed it, and also the phone.
Yeah.
Every season wants to try and do their own thing now. Now that Canada's Golden Beaver is so successful, and I think the phone was a great idea. Oh, the challenge isn't over. Here's the phone call. You have to do one other thing, and like the one where they had to make a headpiece within an hour to add onto their outfit, change some of the outfits. It really altered the landscape that they were running into on a design challenge. Really cool small things like that really help make it interesting, and I excited for when they do All Stars. I hope the phone is back. I'm just, and it's just a great season. And for Nikki Doll, who again from the onset really, and then you see it like, oh, she really has grown into one of the best. And also Kitty Smile, like just a great panel, just good stuff.
Also, Kitty Smiles' best season, like getting
Easy.
better every year, and was
Yeah.
pretty honest, like with like sort of blunt in a good way
Yeah.
this season. Also, we talked about the influence as Spain wrapped up with the Javis just in Spanish culture. So Daphne Burki is a French television presenter. She's a columnist. She's a journalist. She's a writer. She's done many things. This is how. This is why one of the shows is so big. She was one of the creative forces behind the opening and closing ceremonies at the French Olympics. Like she was part of that team. And I just don't think people understand the level of creativity that people in these individual countries are participating in these franchises. It's one of the reasons why, and also one of the producers, I think, of Drag Race France was part of that team as well.
Mhm.
Um, and we also got that incredible moment, which caused a backlash, which, fuck that. This summer in the Olympics, where the Queens performed and Nikki Doll is performed on to 1 billion people on strutting. By the way, her season 12 elimination outfit on a runway on the opening ceremonies on a boat going through the Seine. Like you cannot write this up. Like if you were to tell me like years ago for any of this stuff that gay people would have this representation in the world, you'd never believe it. And I just love this for France. I love this for all of them. Vive la France. I will stop my rant.
Absolutely. I mean, just a great season overall. My pinnacle is still Drag Race France season two, but also my argument is that Drag Race season two is one of the best seasons of Drag Race ever produced. So the fact that we still have a very good season in season three, I'm not mad about whatsoever. Excited for All Stars.
All-Stars. We're already getting an All-Star. I'm excited.
I have so many queens I want to win. Anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Evan, speaking of All-Stars, what did you think of España All-Star Season 1?
I'm aware of Greg's opinions, having done this podcast for so many times on here. I know he is always going to defend his sweet, sweet baby girl who is innocent beyond all compare, Sagittaria, to the end. But I will say, I kind of don't give a shit. I had a great time with All Stars España. I thought the runways were fantastic across the board, as you would expect. Not just España, but España All Stars. It was very, very good. Also, Pink Shadora going home first. Correct. Thank you. Absolutely. I will also say the whole point of All Stars, as we've discussed many times before, is that you want to see that glow up. You want to see people do well and move forward. And let me tell you something: when you have Jerichi Derklee do well and finally win some fucking challenges, absolutely. Samantha Ballantynes is going to be your top two girl after the season she had. That's what you want to see in a fucking All Stars. And also, it's the kind of thing where I know there's the criticisms you can throw towards Drag Setless on there. She was phenomenal. I don't care if she was anointed out of the gate. I still had a great time seeing her win. That the final lip sync that she did was almost a formality on there, because when she gets on the judging panel and does the split off it there, not the first time it's happened, but god damn it, when they're in those goddamn Canary Island heelless hoove things, it's still a good time. So I hear the criticisms. I know the criticisms on there. I personally still had a great time with the All Stars, and if that's not everyone's opinion, that's okay. I thought it was still a good season.
I think just the I hmm. So it's not that I'm a stan for Sagittaria, although if you want to talk about drag excellence, her runways for this, and also most Spain runways are amazing, but her package was unfucking believable. Um,
Absolutely.
so like even like, some US girls were like, whoa. Um, she was just gaslit by the cast. And my problem wasn't with, and I do say, Sethless, if you were to look back on this, would you have really acted this way? Like, would you have really acted this way in front of a camera if you knew this is what the reaction was going to be? I just think their emotions, they wanted it so bad, just really got a hold of them. And I don't just mean Sethless, I mean a bunch of the cast. Even Poopy was like, who is the like Jujubee of Spain.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And is sort of beloved, was going after Sagittarius, and it was just they were gaslighting her. And I don't care if she was being a bitch in the van over, like
Mm.
she wasn't anywhere else. And then and this is the only thing I was just personally disappointed. Sagittarius came on stage and said, "I want to go home." And instead of them saying, "Okay, you can go, it's cool, we'll do a top two lip sync for the, or whatever for the win," they said, "No, you have to stay, and these queens will decide." And I just thought, the production's going to gaslight her
That's
too.
fucked
Like
up.
it was just so. Even if other things are going on behind the scenes, you have to stop and be like, okay, you can't show that, so you can't present it in a way that looks like this. I will say though, I loved the glow ups. I thought, Samantha Valentine, basically pulled a Shangela, which no one wants to really say they're Shangela anymore, but that narrative, hopefully not the rest of that narrative. Actually, Samantha actually hosts the post show now, like the recap show on
Oh.
Spain. And in fact, if you want to see the live reaction to Lococo and Vampy watching the episode, they didn't do it at a bar; they did it there for them. It's on WoW Presents. It's actually really great. Samantha and Lococo, I guess, have actually worked together for years in Madrid. So, and looks they Madrid Queens really wanted a winner, like really bad, like really, really bad. They've had three Barcelona winners in a row, or almost based Barcelonas. And so that's great, but I do agree. Sethless's uh, her performances, her outfits were incredible. I didn't think she was anointed, maybe by the end, but that was just my personal take. I will say, if they do it another 2 or 3 years, I would love another season, and I think they learned big lessons from how they did this, even on their own regular Espani seasons moving forward.
Hmm. Absolutely.
All right, Sethless, you can come out of hiding. You can come out. You can show up at the next live finale.
We
Um,
trust you. Show up on here. Go
come on
worldwidetng
here. Come on,
podcast at
defend yourself.
gmail.com. Yeah.
So Evan, next up, Canada versus the World 2. We got it super quick. They this is called in TV world terms, we have this thing called it's a wet season, it's a wet show, meaning like they just shot it and then they throw it on. That was Canada versus the World. They shot it like 6 weeks before. What did you think?
I see a lot of people who hate on this season, and I'm not one of those people.
No,
I had
me
such a
neither.
good time. I will say, going into it, the cast featuring a lot of girls doing their third fucking tour of duty on here. We have Eureka, we have Kennedy, we have Sweet Sweet Alexis. Like it's Cheryl. It's like, what's the point of having all these queens come back for another time? And then you realize they make good television, and especially together, it was a surprisingly fun season. And was it kind of set up for Lemon? Yes, she still fucking worked for it, make no mistake. But I thought it was still a wonderful time. Lisa Rinna guest judge, some really great lip syncs, and also a Versus the World season that doesn't do the All Stars rule, but instead the Golden Beaver rules, and that's inherently going to be better TV. Truth be told, yeah.
Uh, I have five quick thoughts, and well, actually six. The first one is I would 100% enjoy another Canada versus the World season. I think the Queens love it. They clearly feel very little pressure, and they know that they are treated super well. They shoot these actually pretty long, like they have lots of days off, so the Queens really like it. My number one thought is Fierce Alicious should have waited. This was too soon, and she sort of got overshadowed when she was actually, bringing it a lot. I would have waited. She says she turned down Global All Stars. I don't believe her. But she should have done that even over this. I thought it was going to be insanely hard for Lemon to lose. A Canadian was always going to win. I think every other queen from a country who showed up there knew that. And I don't think Fierce is broad enough to have won.
Mhm.
I thought Cheryl deserved
Yeah. Oh.
Frozen. Oh, and now you're back.
There
Okay.
we go. You
So,
were frozen too. We're all good.
uh, no
Anyways,
worries.
no,
Did
you
you,
just
did
said
you,
Cheryl deserved a badge. Was the last thing you said.
yes. I said Cheryl deserved a badge, and I was really disappointed that she didn't. There was a couple times she tied. I thought she tied or
Should have
won.
won for the reading battle. Truth be told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for her. But again, she also made top four again, or whatever. So
First time. Yeah, I mean, she
yeah,
was truly she was in the final. Let's put it that way for
yeah,
the
she was
first
in
time.
the final, and Cheryl's a great queen. Like, and
Yeah.
I feel like she could become a jujube. They could bring her on Global All Stars. They could bring her back to whatever. Like, she'll always kill. I think Kennedy should have waited for the next All Stars instead of doing this. Maybe she didn't want to, but we can talk about whatever the new US All Stars is down the road, but she should have waited for that. And then I thought Kennedy and Alexis pulled drag from the drag closet, but they've got amazing drag closets.
Yes, they do.
So no complaints about that. And again, I just love to see another season. That's my
Yeah.
take.
And also Tongue Pop, one of the great songs that
Yes.
we got out of this year. That and Dead or Alive from UK6, some actual good Drag Race girl group songs this year. Quality, tea, serve.
Well, let's burn through this. Let's talk about the season that it seems that most global fans feel was the best season overall of the last 12 months. And that would be Drag Race Mexico season two, which had a massive glow up from the first season. Although, rest in peace, our lovely Valentina. Still wish she was hosting. Um, and my only thought is Horatio for Global All Stars too. Like I'm a huge Horatio fan.
Horacio versus Lixa Fox to 1, 2, 3 go is needs to enter the pantheon of all-time lip syncs. It's that good. It is the next level. It is. Greg is just looking at me right there. I thought it was like up there with like Nitra and Marsha. Like I thought it was phenomenal.
I rewatched it and I will rewatch it on my big screen. It's not shot very well. And it's really hard. They're so far away at times. It's hard to see what's going on. I think it's slightly overrated. They're great when they come together in the middle, but the rest of it's not messy, but I just feel it's slightly overhyped. But I thought they brought it, and I love that one moment at the end, but it's just lit in a way that it's hard to see what's going on. Like that's part of my problem with it. And because of the outfits they're wearing, they're not dark. It's like against this light blue and pink. It's just anyway, just me zip.
We might
Shut up.
agree to disagree on this one here, but I thought
Okay.
it was phenomenal. Also, justice for Ava Blunt, one of the best top fours that we've had, I think, in some time. I'll be honest, a little surprised by the winner, but in a very pleasant way. Like it was a good group. It was a good group all around, truth be told. I didn't go to Janari Bloom, which is all I really cared about. And it was just, yeah, it was a very, very good season. Lolita is in the bag. You could tell Tyga was getting more and more confident with each passing episode, and the runway package across the board was great. And we didn't have a Christian Peralta situation, so that all of it added up to a really good season. It's in the league. It's in the talks now of a competitive real season.
It was in a great season. It was a massive hit for WoW. I again, I don't love Lolita. But it is what it is, and I just can't wait for the next season. I'm like super excited for Mexico to come back. So all right, let's blow through these. Let's keep going because some of these we actually covered, so we've talked about them very often. The other ones we had Drag Race Philippines season three. Three quick thoughts. Maxi all the way. I knew she was going to win. Also, a top tier winner, like top tier, like so good. Angel became grading, like really, like all of the extra stuff going on stage, hugging her brother all the time, like it's just a lot. And then Mama Pow just had an amazing comeback after a disappointing runways for season two and sort of seeming out of it a little bit. Just an icon, a legend, like lover. What about you?
I thought it was phenomenal. Again, I think season two was going to be one of the all-timers for me. So I think there was that. The have the best musical I think that's potentially ever been done with the Wicked one that they did. Real production, real design, real everything. We had some drama with Versex. We had John Fideliaga, an Instagram queen who ultimately showed that she has real chops, which is wild. Love Zimba Ding. Hated Mick Chanel, even though she was lovely. But my God, she played the villain so well. And a queen I loved in Kiana too, who did extremely well. It's still one of the best seasons on there. A little bit of captivating cat drama in the finale too, on top of it. But yeah, just truly one of the best franchises because Philippines girls are just built different. Full stop.
Full stop. And I love that they're three seasons in and Cat can show up and they can embrace the narratives and the storylines, which by the way took a while for even like the US season to do.
Hmm.
And you need some background to do that, and which makes season four even more exciting. Oh no, it's All Stars.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't know when season four is coming. They're doing All Stars next, and the rumors about that are wild. So we'll find out about that soon. But I thought it was great, and I would never say no to Mama Pow on my television, even when she shows up for Thailand and something else is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next up, Drag Race UK season six. We have interviewed the winner. We have covered this show so well. My big thing on Drag Race UK season six was I'm just slightly more confused why this cast is more liked than the previous two casts. I did not think that they were as deep a bench overall. But thought that the top three or four queens were actually the top four were great, but I thought the rest was a little weak. What did you think?
Kind of similar. I think it just sometimes the cast relies on its strong competitors over there because as much as someone in the interview is wearing a Tamara Thomas shirt right now, when it came down to a Michael Maruli versus Ginger Johnson, it's kind of like, well, I don't think anyone had that pegged for season five. And then when you had season four, like, of course it's going to be Cheddar Gorgeous and Danny Beard. Who the fuck else is it going to be? Like, it does, as much as there can be a debate about the bench, you got to know who the superstars are on there. Season five, we kind of figured it out, but season four, we knew it was going to be Kyron and Lavoie, kind of early on that they were going to be the real competitors there. But overall, a very good season, a wonderful time. Overall, yeah.
And I will say, they finally picked a winner that will really help the franchise overseas, which I don't know if BBC cares that much about. I think WoW cares a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm super excited for Kyron, and I hope she gets to tour the world. All right, let's keep going. So we also just last week ended Drag Race Thailand 3. I don't really know if there's much more to say beyond bring Nikki Doll every week.
The
What,
worst
what about
season
you?
that we've had out of all the ones we've covered in 2024.
Worst one.
Yeah. Love you, Frankie Wonga, though.
Love you, Frankie Wonga. I I think the saddest thing about all of this is somehow Frankie has gotten lost in all this, and I do hope she gets her props in the years to come. All right, last or second to last, not least, Drag Race España 4 just wrapped up as well. I just want to say I sort of clocked that La Coco was probably going to win it from like the
Mhm.
second episode. She's like in the hobbies bag. Not a bad thing. Like she deserved. Loved the live finale. So excited that they're moving with this forward. And runway, amazing, beautiful, like the best way of saying great gowns, beautiful gowns, like amazing.
And the interlocking runway, one of my
Oh,
favorite moments out of 2024, hands down.
yeah. Any other thoughts on Espana, or you feel like we've run into the ground?
La Nina Delantro. That's my only other thought, truly.
Uh, I love
My
Lanini.
diva, my queen. Yeah,
Yeah, I hope to see her down the road on something else.
yeah.
Speaking of interlocking, really quickly, let's talk about perhaps the most unfairly derived season of anything this year that I will be on the island, and I'm not the only one,
Mhm.
uh, defending as much as possible, which is Global All Stars, which, if and when they do season two, I do think there will eventually be a season two. Would love interlocking to be a permanent member on the judging panel. But here's the one quick thing I want to say about Global All Stars. When you have three lip syncs that people keep referring to towards the end of the year as three of their favorite lip syncs, the show season can't be that bad. Like it
Mhm.
can't be that bad. And I know that people were upset with how they thought Ru judged some of the non-English queens,
That is
and I
correct.
still sort of blame's the wrong word. I was disappointed in especially Gallo Barro in inflaming the Mexican fans online that she was robbed, that she was whatever when she went to a season knowing she didn't speak English that well, and it was set up as an English speaking season. I I'm frustrated by that, but I I think that Queen and Kitty did themselves zero favors.
100%.
But Alyssa was did not seem to Alyssa, if she was when she won, she won, she was safe, she was never in the bottom, and a fine winner to keep it going. Like I'm not upset with it, and I love that the best thing about it is three queens, Soa, Nalenia, and Vanity now have a huge audience who now know them that did not know them before all around the world, and they have grown their fan bases, and I'm excited for them.
Right, and that's the thing. That's one thing. As much as we can have legitimate criticisms about this season, which are true, and man, Queen and Kitty have been doing a lot of work to repair their reputations after what aired. Sometimes being on All Stars doesn't always work out, especially if you're a bully the whole time. But I will say, anytime we get to have more people, even get to know Miranda Lebrau or to know
Yeah.
Eva LaQueen, or I mean, like to actually have a chance to get to know some of these queens in a great sense, and especially if I were to talk and be honest about it. I think my favorite episode was the lip sync Lollapalooza
Yeah.
because seeing Soa Muse take that title was one of my favorite things to happen. Absolutely.
Such a joy.
Yeah.
I love Soa. And I really enjoyed it. I hope they do it again. I think they're going to do it again. But as we move forward, nobody knows what's really 100% going on in the Paramount MTV World of Wonder universe contracts.
Mhm.
But overall, I thought maybe not the heights of 2023, but a great year for international drag.
And also Down Under,
Oh my God, we forgot Down Under.
which is
Oh
still not maybe not one of the best seasons ever, but the best Down Under season, hands down, I would say. And I think that's largely partially because Rue's not there, and also a little bit too because when you talk about the bench that we have, Lazy Susan stepped up and showed what it can be to be that queen that will emphasize an international reach and audience because you just look up anything. She went viral for more than a couple different runways that she did because she brought that creativity that was needed over there over a country scene that isn't as fashion forward as some of the other ones, and she changed that narrative a little bit to the point where we might see it referenced and come back here, and there might be a little bit more of a competitive edge on here. And even if we didn't have, again, as deep a bench of queens this season out, there's still some standouts. We still have Nikita. We still have a couple like lovely people that we wanted to see more of as well. So is it going to be the best season that we saw this year? No. I think we talked about already some really great seasons that we saw already, but it was still really, really fun, and it was definitely the best of the bunch, and there was an upward trajectory that I don't think any of us were anticipating.
No, I totally agree. And I think the best thing that came out of the season outside of Lazy, which sounds like a negative, that's just her name, is this franchise had no goodwill, and now it has goodwill.
Yes.
And that will 100% help it with fans and especially in Australia, like moving forward. And you just want positive energy. And almost every other franchise now outside of Thailand has, at least from the bird's eye view perception, has that positive energy. So I'm excited for you know what it reminds me a little bit of is the criticisms people gave Drag Race season one, sorry, Drag Race Italia season one to season two, and after season two, the goodwill went up, and
Hmm.
I feel like that's where we are with Down Under.
Right. I feel like the WoW producers can thank their lucky stars, more than anything. Oh, sorry, no, that's a
Lucky
Queen.
Stars is
Dang,
Lucky
Natalie.
Stars on Down Under season 4 or 5.
Wow, I can't believe she already bombed. And also,
Spoilers,
yeah, don't look at any spoilers for All Stars 10 because
spoilers, Evan.
you don't need
Spoilers.
you don't need to know what queen from season 17 is already on the cast of that.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I
Unbelievable.
thought she was going all the way. Oh, dang.
Either way, still a lovely season overall. I mean, a good time overall. I think it was overall net positive that we had a couple knockouts on there. I think we know that the España, France, Philippines trifecta is unfuckwittable. And I think that will be for a time being, and we'll see a lot more of that when Worldwide T comes back for our 2025 recaps.
Yes. And I feel like hopefully we can throw Italia in there down the road.
Yeah.
But Evan, really quickly, do you have a queen you would like to highlight this week?
I do, and you know what? Because we were talking all week about the clips that we're going to be putting on
Yeah.
the Worldwide T podcast Instagram and a bunch of other things, I was just thinking about it, and she may not be my all-time favorite queen, but you know what? I was still so happy to know Kiana with a K from Philippines season 3. I thought she was like, oh, she's an outsider, she's a different kind of queen, but then, my God, the runway packages that she had were just incredible. And when I was pulling up her Instagram, she's still doing fun stuff, even holiday themes. She's dressing up as Christmas trees, and it is the kind of thing where she's such a young queen and is already so polished with her looks and her performance aesthetic that I'm like, my God, she will be back in some form, either a global or a All Stars or a something or rather. But I'm really excited for her. I think she has a lot of fresh energy, and I pull a lot of Philippines queens when I do this thing, and I have no qualms about highlighting her again. I would love to see her at some point again in the future.
Well, not only did you highlight a Philippines queen, I'm highlighting a Philippines queen because I just saw her perform this past week at Showgirls in West Hollywood. You ever come to LA and you're here on a Monday night, um, and you want to see some great drag represented, like always safe to look up the Showgirls WeO and see who's performing. It's $10. You come in, you get close. Um, and that is Prince Martell, the first eliminated queen of Drag Race season Philippines 1, who talk about a glow up. Um, is she lives in LA and Manila. I think she has American citizenship. She is incredible. Like Morgan McMichaels was hosting and could not praise her more. She is so good. She did an incredible Santa Baby number where a little cocaine influence joke on the snow. Um, and just but like polished, can dance, so good, works a crowd. Really, you would never believe. I actually had to look it up. I was with my friend who reminded me she had gone home first. I forgot she had. But follow her on Insta. If you're in the LA area, she performs a lot, or actually Southern California. She's in Palm Springs. She's here. She's in San Diego, I think. Definitely Long Beach. She's part of the Morgan McMichaels sort of tour. Morgan literally performs all over Southern California every day somewhere and she's great, like well worth it. Like if you don't want to see Pandora Box on a bill, if Prince is there, it's still worth going. Like that's all I'm gonna say.
All right. I mean, I'm excited. I love a good glow up like that too. That makes me very excited to see. So I'm curious to see what else there is to be. I'm sad I wasn't there for it now at that point. My goodness.
Listen, she'll be back. She ain't going anywhere. This is how she pays her bills. She'll be around.
Fantastic. Well, hey, Greg, thank you so much, as always, for coming together for this. I know we went a little bit long today, but my goodness, we had a lot to cover as we head into a wonderful 2025. Is there still only one season that we're going to be covering? Yes, but we will still throw in a couple other things. Our global All-Stars fan casting, our list of definitive lip syncs that you need to see from international seasons. There's so much that still needs to go on, but overall, thank you as always, buddy. I appreciate doing this with you.
You too, my friend, and we promise we are only covering Canada next week. It will be under 50 minutes. Swear to
Yes.
God. It might be under 45. You never
Yeah.
know. There's few queens left, so it might go quick.
Yeah, exactly. And as always, we want to give our final shout out and say, "Hey sis, it's Christmas." No, wait, that already passed. My sincere apologies for that. In the meantime, let some other music play. We'll catch you next week, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye, guys.
Goodbye.